Welcome to the Pointy End. I'm Keith Sutherland. Today my guest is Jayson Tayeh, the organising person for the marriage equality ad that appeared in the paper, which has caused quite a stir.
Yeah,
both good and bad. The good part is that it's not just 21 people from the local community. The bad is that the opponents seem to be quite aggressive. And also, you've made the headlines yesterday. Your name was mentioned in Parliament by a local member, Lisa Chesters, and I watched that 2.5 minutes of her explaining how Bendigo supported marriage equality. So how did it come about in the first place that you wanted to do this and promote it? Because you've put yourself out there, that's for sure.
So originally, Keith, I saw an advertisement in the Australian, which was taken out by Corporate Australia. I thought it was quite an achievable concept. So essentially they sent the message that Corporate Australia supports marriage equality, and they put their logos to that statement, and I essentially thought, let's do it from the other perspective. Let's do it from a regional Victoria and from a small business perspective. In my world, I support marriage equality, and I found that the businesses that are in my everyday and the businesses that were a part of that 21 also support marriage equality.
Okay, so where to from here? Now you've had a lot of support, as I said, both good and bad. There's 21 businesses only in the first one, but I believe that it's sort of that groundswell has happened. I also noticed that 150 national businesses rather than just 4 with Qantas, ANZ, etc. and the original one, but now there's about 150 businesses, Facebook, Twitter, McDonald's. The groundswell is certainly out in that community. So what are you going to do locally?
That's right. So essentially we did get a bit of negative feedback, which we were expecting. There's obviously people that have difference of opinion, and that's perfectly fine. Essentially what we wanted to do though was send a positive message from day one, and that is that the majority in the community support marriage equality. So essentially with the next ad, what we've done is we've opened it up to the public. So instead of it coming from my world, we're coming from our world. And we're putting any businesses in Bendigo all together in a new ad, just to show that it's not just the 21 that are interested in marriage equality, that it's actually a larger community that does.
Okay. With that, as I said, there's been quite a stir both on a local level, and people are entitled to their views, there's no question about that, but there's been a couple of businesses where there's been quite an aggressive approach, affront to some of the people that have put their names to it, I believe, and that's not a nice thing. People are entitled, sure, you can have your say, but be nice about doing that, because I don't think you seem to be putting the message out there hard and fast. It's out there. But it's also, I noticed from the weekend too, that our local senator, or Victorian Senator, Bridget McKenzie from the Nationals, her brother has come out quite strongly against her stand of following the party line, and Darren Chester was the only one from down Gippsland Way, the local member, that has come out and said, well, he supports marriage equality, but it's certainly splitting families, it's splitting people. Coming to that point, Tony Abbott's own sister, Christine Forster, has made a very vocal stand on Q&A the week before last, talking about marriage equality. So it is splitting families, it is creating it. What's going to happen, do you believe? Do you think it's going to get to the Parliament? They're talking August, but do you really think it will get to the Parliament where people will be given a free conscience vote or not?
I think it will. I think it's getting to the point now where the comments about it being inevitable are coming to an end. I think there was a poll this morning that showed about 57% of Liberal Party members actually support marriage equality. So that's, I think, 6 in 10. Essentially, we want to continue to send that positive message and continue to show that even though there is a divide amongst the people and their opinions sort of go either way, there is some positiveness that have come from the support that we have shown in the community. We had a young girl come in to one of the stores that were part of the original 21 over the weekend, and she essentially said that because of the support in her community, she found her little brother pulled their family aside and said that he's coming out because of the fact that there's support and he feels the confidence to do so. So essentially that even though there's two sides of this story, there is a lot of positiveness that's happening on the ground with the young Australians that are dealing with this issue every day. Also, I noticed, and I'll quote some of these quotes here, a couple of Bendigo City councillors, City of Greater Bendigo councillors have come out, and I know Councillor Leach is strongly opposed to it, but also Councillor Leach Chapman, and I'll state, quote what she was quoted in the Bendigo Advertiser, changing the Marriage Act could be set a dangerous precedent. Should be decided by a referendum, not by Parliament, which is interesting.
It might open the door to other minor groups. I'm not quite sure what she's alluding to there. It could also lead to other things like reduction of the age of consent. I don't think that the Marriage Act changes, that they're going to change these sorts of things. And where do we draw the line was her comment. So that's a couple of the councillors. As I said, Councillor Leach hasn't said a lot, but I know that she's part of the group that are opposing it. But Councillor Elise Chapman has certainly come out strongly with these suggestions, as I said, quoted from the Bendigo Advertiser.
Definitely, and I think they're entitled to their opinion. I think some of those points are valid and an interesting discussion point to talk about. Look, I'd like to see something happen in Parliament. I don't particularly, I suppose, want to see it go to referendum. I think it's going to cost a lot of money. I think we already know that the majority of people are supporting this. There has been a lot of people making comment on the issue, both from a community level and from a corporate level as well. So I'd like to see the people that represent us in Parliament make a decision based on where the majority sits and where the people want to make that decision.
I agree with you, because Dennis and I did a head-to-head, and we were saying the same. My opinion was, I think they are elected representatives. They are representing the public. Most of the politicians that are there know their electorate stand on same-sex marriage and marriage equality. So I think that you don't need the referendum. I totally agree, because it's a lot of money. Just one thing that came up last time around, Bill Shorten jumped the gun by putting up the legislation, and then the Liberal Party voted against it. Should it be a bipartisan approach? Is that the best way to get it through, that someone from the government, Liberal Party, Liberal National Party, should move the bill? It should be seconded by the Labor Party, and then approach it on that basis? Or should one party or the other be putting it up? Because it may not happen under Tony Abbott's Prime Ministership, that the party will allow that conscience vote.
Yeah, look, I think it should be bipartisan. I think that will show a broader scope, and it will mean that everybody's basically being heard and their opinion is valid. I think that change needs to happen, and I think we just need to start pushing that inevitable a little bit further. And I think campaigns like ours, like what we're seeing both interstate in New South Wales, Queensland and Tasmania, where other small businesses and other regional towns are getting together, I think those little efforts are gonna push this and make this whole process happen a lot faster.
Finally, what did you think of the absurd situation with that couple from Canberra last week, Sarah and Nick Jensen, suggesting that they will divorce if gay marriage is allowed? That was their comments. How do you see that? How do you read someone saying, well, if it's open, marriage equality is open to the whole world, we'll divorce? So there's been a huge backlash on social media in relation to this suggestion from that couple.
I think it's quite funny, considering that there's a respect and a dignity behind getting married. I think the people that want to see marriage equality do hold marriage itself in that respectful frame, I suppose. The reality is that there is a large amount of people that are coming from the opposite side of the spectrum as well, that they're actually not getting married until their friends and family and other members that are part of the LGBT community can have those equal rights and the marriage equality. So essentially, even though they've come out and said we're going to get a divorce, there's actually already a large amount of people that are saying, well, we're not going to get married until it's equality for everyone, and until they can share this special day with other people that that they love.
Well, Angelina Jolie and Brad Pitt were one that were not going to do anything, but they have tied the knot, of course, in the meantime. But yeah, they were people that making a strong stand that there should be marriage equality. Well, Jay, thank you so much. As I said, you've made the headlines, not just locally, you've made it nationally with the parliamentarians talking about you yesterday. And I think it's wonderful that you've been prepared to take a stand. And I applaud those local businesses for coming out. There is no compunction on people to agree or disagree. It doesn't really matter. The fact is that you've put your neck out there, and you've been hit down a fair bit by some of the vocal people. But by and large, I think most of the people in Bendigo are applauding your stand on marriage equality. So I think it's going to be, I'm really looking forward to seeing the bigger and better advert next time it comes around. I'm not sure when that's going to be, but I just think it's great that you're following it up. And the Bendigo community, a regional centre, which is supposedly a conservative sort of community, is getting on board this marriage equality, and it's a simple thing, and surely the time has come where we can look at these things reasonably and in a rational manner. There's no need for aggression. We can talk about it. So I really appreciate you appearing on the Pointy End today.
My pleasure. Thanks, Keith.
Thank you.